Welcome back. You know what I'm saying? Episode 3 of Flipping the Switch, where we explore the digital landscape. You know, my name is Score. This is Greg. We got Micaiah back on this thing, you know. And today's episode is gonna be about AI. So that's like the favorite topic. You know, that's always the first thing that comes to mind when we're talking about a lot of this digital stuff and oh, this is what they doing and this is what's up next and this is what's cutting edge and everything in between. So we wanted to go ahead and give our take on AI. You know, artificial intelligence, automated intelligence. I said that in the first episode. Um, yeah, so how y'all wanna like start off this convo?
Um, I definitely think we should talk about like explaining kind of baseline what
Mm-hmm.
AI is and kind of differentiating it from machine learning.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
and
All right.
and yeah, I think it kind of some people kind of see it as like AI and machine learning are the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and like AI and data science are the same thing. And I think we should just talk about why it's unique, why it's different, and
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, could you educate us?
No.
Yeah.
I
You
need
ain't
you to
wanna
look it
go
up.
into it? No, I mean I can talk about it.
I mean, this ain't my field, so I do I'm curious to know what's the
Yeah, I
difference.
thought it
Okay.
would be better.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's get into some definitions. You know, some make sure we all on common ground here. So artificial intelligence. Its idea started with a guy named Alan Turing in 1950. He basically posed the question, can you create a machine that is indistinguishable from a human? So basically he wanted to replicate a human, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
wanted you to be able to. So he created what was called a Turing test. Can't remember specifically how the Turing test worked, but essentially this was the test to kind of verify if this machine was distinguishable for humans.
Okay.
You know, so the concept basically started in the 1950s. Mind you, now in the last episode, we already brought up the fact that uh, the first AR headset was created in 1968. You know, so these guys have been thinking about this for like the past 60 years now. You know what we're seeing, but you know, to bring it back, Alan Turing, his Turing test, and again, the concept is just to create a machine that was indistinguishable from a human. So AI is more just about, can I do a task and you not tell the difference
Yeah.
between, you know, me, or can the machine do a task and you not tell that it's not a human? Machine learning is, you know, it's actually just a pretty straightforward thing when you look at the two words. It's, can the machine learn to do new tasks?
Mm.
So yes, they're connected,
Yeah.
you know, but they're not really the same because now instead of me just being programmed to do a task on my own, I can actually figure out new ways or new tasks to do. You know, I could pick up new skills like, you know, they got AIs where they train it and training is what it sounds like. You know, the machine is learning and then the training is basically it. That's like the learning process. It's called
Mm.
training.
Yep.
You know, where you put the machine through uh, different iterations or you know different repetitions of a task, and then they collect data, they collect information on either why they was right, why they was wrong, why they hit the mark, why they missed, you know, and then from there they generate how to like kind of get closer to that mark,
Mm.
you know. So that's what machine learning is, and then
Okay.
it actually branches into deep learning, which deep learning just means, again, pretty common straightforward word, you're going deeper into how much you're learning,
Mm.
you know, like instead of like it's basically about levels of complexity
Okay.
essentially. So because the AIs AI itself is basically based on the human brain. So you have what's called a neural network,
Yep.
right? And so the same way the brain is made of brain cells called neurons, you know, and those neurons, you know, all interact with each other, creating like a little matrix or a little map
Mm.
called well, that's also a neural network, right? They create a digital version of a neural network for the AI. So the AI's brain is called a neural network. And then when we bringing up the topics of machine learning and deep learning, it's basically how many neurons or how many, well, I don't remember what they call it.
Nodes?
Yeah, they call them nodes, but I think they have a specific word now. Like, you know how like a neuron is
Axon and a dendrite.
well, nah, just in general, a neuron is a brain cell.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like a neural network's brain cell has a name.
Oh,
Yeah. But I mean, it is a node, right? Every individual cell within this AI's neural network is a node, you know. And so when you get to deep learning, basically it's like more than 3 layers deep.
Okay.
You know, so if you're thinking of like if you've ever studied binary trees or you know those type of trees where you know the value is like 3 or 4 layers down.
Yeah.
You know, so think of like a family tree. You know, for
I'm
people.
Put an image up
Yeah. We're gonna put images up here for sure. But to you know to make it real simple for our viewers, our philosophers, our fellow philosophers, you know, think of like a family tree. You know, so 3 layers down like would be like your grandma, or that's I guess technically 3 layers up. So 3 layers down would be the grandchild, and so any amount of any neural network that has at least great grandchildren worth of optimizations or adjustments, you know, gets into the realm of deep learning. So to you know to kind of bring us back, right? AI can do a task on its own, and you can't tell that it is not human. Machine learning is the fact that this AI can actually figure other tasks out or learn new tasks. Deep learning is the fact that it can get very deep with what it's learning. It can go very deep. And then lastly, you brought up data science. Yeah. So data science is basically the collection and utilization of data. You know, how do I organize the data in the best way? How do I collect the data in the best way? And that gets real deep because it's like it can get real complex, especially once you get into what they call big data, which is just a lot of data. You know what I'm saying? So like
glad they kept that one straightforward.
Yeah, like the computer scientists just name it what they meant.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the tricks that I learned, you know, through my studies. Mainly once I got into industry and I started like have to figure stuff out on my own, is that all of these words really are just common sense. But you know, when you get so deep into studying it, it's like the way it kind of orients your mind. Sometimes you stop seeing it as common sense. You know, like once you start using that left side of your brain so much, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, machine learning is just a machine that's learning.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, big data, whatever, right? But so I mean, even let's do data science, right? The science of data, how it's moving, how to collect it, what does it represent? You know, and it goes into its own category. The reason why data science is connected to AI and machine learning is because that's the information that the machine is using. Yeah. You know, like even like in it's always helpful to compare any technology to yourself because first of all, that's what they're based off of, but also that's how you can see it even clearer, right? So we're always collecting data about our environment, right? Like the lighting a certain way. What does it smell like? Like all of our 5 senses is basically our sensors collecting data, you know, and basically how we organize the data or how we will go about it is essentially what these machines are doing, you know, and so there's a whole science basically on how to collect the data and how the machine can collect the data efficiently and then interpret it too. Because you know that gets into like when it from a human perspective, that gets into the whole perspective is reality, right? Like dang, like that's what you got out of that situation.
Not even just that. Like while you was talking, I was thinking about how you literally, since you're a baby, like since the day you open your eyes, you're taking in data. So as you get older, your brain has to get better at discerning what information is relevant enough to keep at the forefront of your mind,
Exactly.
and what information needs to, go ahead, fall back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like, I was just thinking about all the different parallels in terms of like how we talking about biological neural networks. I feel like we gotta start making that discernment, because they call it the same thing.
Right.
As opposed to digital neural networks, now they gotta train an AI or whatever type of machine learning to understand, like, okay, this is relevant data, this is irrelevant data.
Yeah.
So that's
interesting.
interesting.
And honestly, so bringing up data science, first of all, that was an excellent point, right? Because just as much as we have to filter information, they also have to figure out how to filter information. You know, especially like the example is always if you have like an AI who's supposed to be able to distinguish what is a dog, for example, right? So let's say I give you an image of a dog, or I give it an image of a dog and an image of a horse, right? Like, okay, a dog and a horse both have 4 legs. So that information is irrelevant to me. It has to figure out that that type of data doesn't matter, you know? And then when we get to the large scale of why, you know, companies love tracking us and companies like to collect all this, what we feel like is unnecessary data and information.
The cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
Always-
Collecting always in your cookie jar, you know what I'm saying, in your
cookies.
bag. It's because they need the data to be so structured. You know, like they need every piece of data, so that way the more uniform the data is, the easier it is for them to know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
So they trying to fill the gaps.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, you know, that's just a little tidbit. You know, that's what big data is all about. Big data is the fact that large company have millions, really probably billions, if not trillions of terabytes of data. Terabytes, like if you think of gigabytes, then like times like 1,000, I think, or 10,000, whatever, right? Like a shitload of data. You know what I'm saying? That spans across millions of people, and they needed to be organized. You know, that makes the calculations much simpler. That makes the formula that they use to capture it, and it also makes the interpretations and the discernment a lot easier as well. So hopefully that made sense, right? So I'm gonna recap one more time. AI, can this machine do what a human does, and you not tell that it is a machine?
It's a Turing test.
Right, passing the Turing test. Yes. Machine learning is, can this machine learn something new? And then data science is just collecting and interpreting information. There you go.
I think you did really good.
That's it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I do my little thing. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, now that we got these terms out the way, so what's like, I actually, so I was doing my research on AI, and you know, I was looking at a lot of like I think there's some more words I want to kind of define. I don't have these off the dome, but there are apparently different types of AI. Like as far as like not from like AIs that different people are building, but just like different levels. Like that's what I mean. Like there's different levels to AI. So there's actually what you call narrow AI, which is just doing basically simple tasks, right? Like they can learn a little stuff with the machine learning, but they're pretty much sticking to like a certain
niche.
A certain niche. You know what I'm saying? So you could have like, you know, the like a chat bot, right? Like you go to a website and then the chat bot, that's all that AI is really gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like that's all it's, because at the end of the day, you know, AI is still built by a program. You know, they're not just out here just running rampant, right? Like somebody had to literally type its code, its program, and basically all of its possibilities too. You know, because if I only give you one line of code, you can't just spontaneously evolve into some terror, So yeah, so I mean, they got real straightforward tasks like a chatbot, a virtual assistant, even like predicting what type of meals you want or whatever, right? Just pretty straightforward AI. All right. Then you got like artificial general intelligence, or what's called like strong AI, which basically let me see what they said. Yeah, so these humans, not humans. Damn, my fault. I'm reading.
It's getting ugly.
Yeah, they got me slipping. They got me slipping.
Can't tell who's who.
But basically, this is where we get generative AI from. So they're pretty much able to cover a wide variety of topics. They're kind of more general purpose, and they are strongly comparative to humans. In the sense that they'll pretty much learn a lot of different things, right? So that's called artificial general intelligence. Then you have artificial super intelligence, which is really at this point we're talking about a theoretical concept. Based on, this I'm on builtin.com, this is what they saying, is that these are a lot of these levels are still theoretical. But so this one is super intelligence, which basically is like what they're saying is like the science fiction stuff, where the AI can really just evolve and it just figures out that like, oh, humans are the problem or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just learning so much more than what it was originally programmed to do. That's called super intelligence. And
So wait, can we pause for a second?
Yeah, for sure.
So does that go into like the whole supercomputer thing?
That's exactly what it goes into.
Okay.
Supercomputers, yeah, and just super intelligence. The fact that like it can really evolve past what you it can really evolve past what you originally programmed it to be.
I was gonna say, like, I know there's what they say, like multimodal. I don't know if they say AI, but just meaning that it can take different data points just outside of, like text. Now it's like images, it's video, it's connecting different sensors to it and stuff like that.
Right.
And being able to use some of that information. And I was thinking, like, I wonder whether that falls into also
AGI? You were saying the AGI?
Yeah. Yeah. Whether it falls into that, does it also fall into like, the narrow ones with just a chatbot and stuff like that?
Wait, what's your question?
Does it fall under, can all of those
multimodal
data points, I guess,
okay,
fall under all of those AIs that you just said? Like,
what's a multimodal?
Taking images, taking video, taking whatever, sound, audio,
multiple modes of media.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think majority of AIs fall within either the narrow or the generative. Because again, allegedly, super intelligence is just theoretical.
Right.
It would be compared to a human. Like really, the fact that they tell us that we're only using like 3-4% of our brain, whatever that number is, right? Super low. It's like once a human actually just starts using 20, and then I'm sure there's a threshold. Like if you're able to use 20, you can start figuring out how to use 30 and 40 and 50 and 60% of your brain. That's essentially what the artificial super intelligence category is. So until then, what you about to say?
Well, I was gonna tell you that like that whole concept is actually wrong. That we only use 1, 2, whatever percent that they say we use in our brain. That's not even accurate. What more accurately happens is we use specific parts of our brains during specific times. So when you do like I don't know if y'all watched the last episode, the EEG, and that's basically just tracking brain waves. I'm just gonna
that's the electroencephalo. Encephalography.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you know what's crazy? All today I've been working on that word.
Yeah, great. Because I was like, dang, you really remember that? But
Yeah,
that's training.
Electroencephalography. Yo, that's a good curse in my
So
mouth.
like, not only do we have like, can we track the brain waves, but you can also track the electrical impulses that are coming out of the brain. So you not only be able to see the type of brain waves that's coming out, which also shows that different parts of the brain are being active, but you can also see where these electrical impulses are originating from. And that's how you can see, even when you're doing something that's categorized as left brain or right brain, you're actually using different parts of your brain at the same time. And it's just rare for literally your whole brain to light up at the same time. But you do use different parts of your brain to do different tasks. So you're most of the time using closer to 40 to 50% of your brain at any given time.
And that's still 3% capability of the brain.
I mean, that's
and I'm just throwing out that 3%, but
that's relative to what you're looking at. So if you're saying that, like, if for example, we're saying you want to think about what to name your dog, right? Obviously, no matter, like, you don't need more than the normal amount of brain power to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to be able to think of literally every single name that you've ever heard in your entire life. That's when we get into like that discerning of what information is relevant and what's not. Like, obviously, I'm not gonna think about Billy Bob or whatever the fuck names I've heard when I'm thinking about naming this dog. I'm only gonna think about what's relevant, what I think I can keep up with. You know, so it's all relative when you say like, oh, we're only using 3%. It's like, if you used 100% of your brain all the time, based on the calculations they have now, you will not only be wasting power, but you would start having brain fog and brain fatigue. And that's when you get into like having brain cancers and different problems when people try and speed up their own brain power. People have tried to do that with different electrical caps and different, different ways of just trying to do it. I'm keeping it real general. But most of the time that resulted in them having some type of cognitive decline instead of some acceleration. So I was just trying to, kind of debunking that myth a little bit.
Okay. That made me think of like AI having hallucinations because of that, and just like the processing power that it takes for the AI to, come up with its answer. And like you saying that, oh, we only use 3%, I am thinking about, the data science aspect of things and it having to interpret all of this data as well. Yeah. I don't know if people know what AI hallucinations are.
I've never heard of AI hallucination. I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah, no.
So, well, I guess you do.
Well, if you like use something like ChatGPT or something like that, and you might ask it a question that might be outside of its realm of not understanding, but like it being able to differentiate the information. It might not be able to do that depending on what your exact question is. So it's getting all of this information and it'll give you, sometimes it will just give you fake data just because it's trying to answer your question, but it can't differentiate certain points depending on what the question is. But I'm gonna look it up.
So that sounds like that AI kind of slow.
Yeah, it's trying to fill in its own gaps. That's really what it is. It's trying to fill in its own gaps, and it hasn't been trained on how to do that, like you're saying.
Because that's how ChatGPT runs. It predicts the next word based on the last word that it started with. So yeah, it'll just keep going. And even if it's wrong, like even if we're trying to look for research, we're looking for research papers or whatever, it will literally give you research papers that don't exist.
Yeah, it'll make up a fake citation.
So that means it's lying.
Yeah, it's hallucinating.
Talking about hallucinating, that boy lying.
But he doesn't know he's wrong. That's the thing. That's the thing because what it is supposed to do is be like, oh, this is beyond my capability. When it gets to that thing, it's supposed to say, hey, this is beyond my capability. But instead, it just gives you something fake because it literally is believing that this is the next thing that's supposed to happen.
If you're hearing this open AI, whoever y'all want to call yourselves,
they know they got hallucinations.
Y'all know what y'all gotta fix, cause
okay. So AI can hallucinate, and we also got the fact that the 3% of the brain. I mean, because they told her. I mean, I just knew. But to kind of go back to that, because I was still kind of trying to figure that out. Mm-hmm. You're saying that it's not like at any given moment I could be using, like the percentage you're talking about is the amount of, let's just say, neurons I got fired in my total amount of brain. Mm-hmm. But what I was asking, as far as it could still be 3%, is like, the different combinations of those neurons. Is that what it meant, or like the 3% meant, or they just flat out lied?
No, they flat out lied because that's what they theorized. That's what they thought, because they went to they studied, like, this was a real study, all right? So they went out in nature and they were looking at stuff like what's the closest thing to us, right? And then they got to the whole chimpanzee thing, and then they were like, okay, well, we see that we're basically using, like, basically like 3, maybe 4% from their own parameters of testing. They were like, oh, well, we're at least like 3 to 4% better than them cognitive, like as far as our brain power. So then when they tried to do like a human to human test, they couldn't really determine how much more one human was using than the other. So they thought, well, all right, well, we're just gonna stick with the whole 3% thing. And then the narrative really just kept going. Like, they just kept saying, all right, well, this person said we only use 3%. We're just gonna run with that. And even like people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and other people that have looked at actual brain scans, looked at, you know what I'm saying? Even if you talk to any doctor, go to any hospital, they'll show you, like, with an MRI, whatever you want to look at, like, yeah, really a fMRI is a way to do that. So that's a functional magnetic resonance imaging. So really all that big complicated word means they're looking at your brain while it's actually working, while they're asking you questions or whatever, and using a magnet to be at the same resonate with the same frequency of your brain material, of the neurons. Let's just say the neurons, right?
So they're using magnetism.
Yes. To study, to track your electrical impulses.
To take the picture.
Exactly. So like you'll literally see in an fMRI, they'll like, for example, if you were having like eye problems or whatever, they'll want to see the optical lobe, or the parts of your brain for sight to light up when they tell you to look at certain colors. And they'll see like, oh, if your brain ain't lighting up when we show a red image, that means something's wrong with these specific parts of your brain. It gets complicated, but just in general, that means that we can identify what part of your brain is wrong right now. So that's what that whole kind of thing is. But going back, that was literally the whole 3% myth was literally just one scientist made a mistake, and they just kept running with it. The same thing with the whole kind of flat earth theory.
They did make it seem like we didn't have access to all the parts of our brain.
Exactly.
But that's true though. We definitely haven't, because when you research like the pineal gland, they introduced it, or they, for however amount of time, was saying that that's just like a non-functional, like that's like a what they call it. It's like they call it an atrophied gland, basically meaning that it's like, it's dead, it doesn't work, it's not really useful. When come to find out, like if you actually study the pineal gland, like that's where you get into the ability to perceive, light and energy beyond the visible spectrum, i.e. you have all the spiritual experiences. That's where if you take like go on a shroom trip, you're opening up that aspect of the brain. So it has been a thing of like not accessing the whole thing, and that, I guess a certain part of science, has acknowledged that we're not Well, I don't know if that would be them acknowledging that we're not using it, because I also see what you're saying as far as like, it could have been accidental, could have been it could have been intentional.
Yeah, I mean,
but
the perpetuation
yeah,
at this point could be intentional, but back then they just weren't. They didn't have the capability to track enough.
That's
You know
true
what I'm
too.
saying? Like,
And that makes more
you
sense
don't know what you
anyways,
don't know.
because it wouldn't even make sense now that I think about it for you to be able to, even whenever MRIs came out and you were able to actually scan it, that we were only ever using 3% of our brain.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro.
Like that just doesn't
Your
make
eyes
sense.
alone, using those a
I mean,
single
we're losing
lobe,
all 5 of our senses.
You know what I'm saying? Like just using your, but I'm saying even your eyes alone, like that part of your brain is more than 3% of your brain. So that's like just in general, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. The fact that you can literally see, you can look back at me means you're using at least like 8% of your brain.
But see, that's why I personally always interpreted more of what the capacity of the brain could do. Like the fact that, like dolphins have like 2 brains. Yeah. Or something like that. And they're able to do like some crazy stuff with their brains based on the energy that it's producing. But I mean it does, I think it is worth, unless you have more research to present. But how are we even measuring the capacity of the brain at that point? Because we know it, yeah, like you said, it doesn't make sense to say I'm only using 3% of my brain. My eyes are probably using at least 10% just to function properly. But if we get into that low, super low percentage based on the capacity of the brain, then it's like, well, how do you even measure that?
Yeah, and that's kind of like the catch-22
Only
of this
the
whole
observer.
situation. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So it doesn't even make sense for that number to really exist unless somebody's. I mean, and then you saying we're only using 5-10%. So how the fuck are we trusting somebody that's clearly only using 5 to 10% to tell me I'm only using 5 to 10%? You know what I'm saying? That's a weird. Yeah, like
it's a conundrum that
we on y'all head. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, those are excellent points. I'm not sure how we got. Oh, because we was talking about the super intelligence of AI and not it just being able to evolve new nodes or whatever that. New neurons within its own little neural network. I actually have found that there were 4 more types of AI. Okay. So the first category, the 3 that I brought up, the narrow AI, the degenerative intelligence, the AGI, and then the super intelligence, those fall in the category of capabilities or capability-based types. Then there's another category called functionality-based types, where basically, capability is basically just its general capacity, while functionality is more like what it is actually doing. So there's 4 types, which is the reactive AI, where basically it's literally just doing things in the moment, but not really collecting memory of the moment. So that's really, again, going back to chatbots, virtual assistants, because they're only going to do whatever they need to do in that moment, and then that's it. Like, I'm done with the memory. Then you actually have limited memory, and that's when you get into, again, the machine learning and the deep learning. I can start to figure stuff out, right? Then the next level, which is where it gets interesting, is called theory of mind. So theory of mind AI is actually AI that can sense your thoughts and your feelings and emotions. So now you're getting into like what they call sentiment analysis, right? Analyzing sentiment, trying to get a feel of the vibe, of the mood of what you're saying as a human, not just I'm not just based on, I guess, verbiage, but also, once you get into robotics, it could actually sense those frequencies and those energies, because like you just said, they've already been able to map. Well, I don't think you mentioned it this time, but the same way you can map colors to the regions of your brain, you can map emotions to certain regions of the brain. So those are brain waves, those are energy essentially being emitted from your being. And so you could have AI that can pick up on your emotions.
I didn't want to I don't want to cut you off, but I was thinking about that when you said like robotics and being able to sense emotions and stuff. I was thinking about the movie Big Hero 6.
Oh yeah.
It's a like cartoon. I think it's
You
like
saw it?
Cartoon movie.
Nah, I was just thinking. I was like, dang, like they really being a movie bag because I don't be super. I'm getting into my sci-fi bag, but for now, y'all gonna have to carry a load on a lot of the
Big Hero
references.
6. That was a great. I ain't even gonna cap. Like for it to be a kid movie, they really did do the big one with that one.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you could explain.
Yeah, okay. So basically, Baymax. So basically, I don't know. Is he like? I don't think he's like a robotics engineer or something like that.
His brother was a robotics engineer.
Yeah. So he built a robot that was supposed to like care for people, almost like a nurse. So he was built to be like really fluffy, and he had all these like sensors to know when you're feeling low, like when you're feeling sad, when you need a hug, like when you're hungry, like so like that was his main functionality, to be like this nurse, or like eventually end up in hospitals taking care of old people and stuff like that.
Well, not even just that. They also wanted him to be like in emergency situations. Like he was like fireproof and all these different things that was supposed to help him be helpful in that.
When did this come out?
I would say we were
2017.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then the last category, could y'all imagine what the last category is based on?
I mean, I'm kind of cheating.
2014.
I can for sure see, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, yeah. So 2014.
Yeah.
Big Hero 6, 2014. Cool. The last category is actually self-aware AI. So theory of mind AI is the fact that it can tell what your emotions are. Self-aware is that it's aware of its own self, its own sentience and existence, and its place in reality. So the last two are actually theoretical. So they technically don't exist, right? According to builtin.com. You know what I'm saying? They're saying that it. Yeah. They're saying those last two don't really exist, you know? And I think it's interesting because it's like, when you think of AI, like you immediately jump to either self-aware or super intelligence AI, right? Like you automatically think, oh, AI, like this man's about to take, like we said, like take over the world, or you know, do these super advanced capabilities, and it's like, nah, they not there yet, you know.
Yeah, but it also takes people building the supercomputers, but also having like enough data storage, which is people. I don't think people think about their data being stored because they're like, oh, I have the cloud. I don't need to have like a data center in my house or nothing like that. But there's like acres and acres of data centers already to run the type of, AI like ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is definitely not at that level of a, super intelligent. So like it takes a lot of physical energy to make that work.
So AI really not as big as the movies make it seem.
Well, not yet, and that's the thing where it's like Makai was alluding to, it takes so much actual electrical power to power all the data storage places. So like the servers, that's what everybody think. Like when you hear a server room or you see that in the movies or TV shows or whatever, we all think like, okay, that's where stuff is being stored. But when you start talking about big data, like you were saying, or gigs and trillions of terabytes of data and all this other stuff, like it takes about the power of a small country to really make sure all this stuff stays in line and is actually able to be used. And that's why even now, like the big thing that's gonna be the next big thing or whatever is figuring out the most efficient way to store data, not only to have it be able to be accessible, but to make sure it's not using a whole lot of energy.
Yeah, and that's why dollars are going into quantum computing, because that's supposed to be able to speed up that, take away from having to use these physical data centers and all this energy to this one kind of like central computer. I don't know. Quantum computer?
Nah,
I was gonna ask you what that means.
Yeah, I wanted you to kind of break it down.
I want a good definition, so I'm not gonna go to my head.
Okay. Quantum computing. I can give my guess. It sounds like
doesn't have to do with nanoparticles or something.
I mean, I'm just wondering, like quantum particles, so nanoparticles.
I'm just wondering. I guess the mechanics of storing the information is what is used in quantum physics and quantum mechanics.
It'll get deep if it's what I think it is.
Because, I mean, that's the only way.
So a quantum computer is a computer that takes advantage of quantum mechanical phenomena. On small scales, physical matter exhibits properties of both particles and waves, and quantum computing leverages this behavior, specifically quantum superposition and entanglement, using specialized hardware that supports the preparation and manipulation of quantum states. I'm going to show y'all.
So what you're saying is basically is using quantum gadgets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you what
quantum
it
computing is computing on the quantum level.
Yeah.
But that still kind of puts us in the same box as far as like electrical power.
Well, no, not.
I guess you're just shrinking everything.
Yeah, you're shrinking everything, and that's why like the physical. Bro, what?
Groundbreaking quantum computer. Well, I don't know the relative size. Like, what's the size of that?
Let me put it next to the first one. But there's bigger ones.
And so that has the same computing power as what?
Let's see.
I see what you're saying. So yeah, they are.
So quantum computing is basically just taking up less space to do the same work.
Exactly. Yes. And another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, we go a little deeper, but I know we gotta go back to like the AI stuff.
Oh yeah.
But DNA storage. So like they're trying to. I know somebody at our school that's trying to do it, but a lot of other people are trying to get into it too, which is basically storing data within, like for instance, plant DNA. So it's turning that everybody knows the ANC, the GNC, the sequence. Well, I hope y'all know.
I didn't know what you're talking about for example.
Okay, adenine, guanine,
the pairing,
the nucleotides. Yeah, so the actual pairing of all of those are nucleotides, and they're actually paired with adenine goes to thymine, cytosine goes to guanine.
That's the DNA ladder. Yeah, when y'all see the ladder, they break up into two pieces, right?
Yeah, so that's how those ladder pieces are actually broken up. And what they're basically doing is turning that into a sequence of ones and zeros. So they're like making almost kind of like translating the language. They're trying to make this language from these 4 letters into 2 numbers to then be able to compress information, kind of like how Micaiah was saying with the quantum computing, to the point where we can store data within a plant. You know what I'm saying? So literally your plant that you might be growing in your house could be the same thing that's storing terabytes of data to trillions of terabytes of data.
They trying to put the data of a computer on into the plant itself?
Exactly.
Wow.
Back to the
because that's an easier means of that's just an easier means of storage in terms of efficiency and energy. So if all you gotta do is water your plant, y'all
gonna kill the plants?
Nah, you're not killing the plant. The plant can still grow. That's what I'm saying.
How we know?
I mean, I'll say that's the goal. I'll say that's the goal. The goal is for the plant to be able to store the data. You ever trying to grow some
food or any kind of plant?
I don't think it would be an eating kind of plant.
I'm just saying, plants in general are very picky about the energy, or some are, about the circumstances of its environment. You can miss watering a plant for one day, and now it's all of a sudden dying the whole time. Yeah. So how am I supposed to, how are they able to just be like, okay, like these plants?
I'm just introducing the
concept. I would say I'm not no biological engineer or nothing like that, but I know people that just sit with plants all day.
I mean, I don't know. That's just what my mom said it. I'm not saying it's not feasible or anything. It's just like, what the hell? Like, you gonna make them carry the load? You know what I'm saying?
Not us.
But you was trying to bring something back up with the
yeah. I was gonna say, as like a reference to its power, So they talk about its potential to be like so much better than supercomputers, but in late 2019, Google claimed that it had managed to solve a problem that would take 10,000 years for the world's fastest supercomputer within just 200s using a quantum computer.
200 what?
200 years.
So they even have, hold on, time out. Wait a minute. They had a quantum computer working for 200 years.
I don't think that's, no. I think they have it working, and they're saying it's going to, it's going to solve this problem way before using a supercomputer.
Yeah, they could just calculate how long it would have took.
Yeah. Gotcha. So they're looking at a percentage bar going.
Yeah.
I'm locked in. So, did y'all mind if I start getting into a certain AI that I felt like was...
Steven, did you finish your list?
Oh, yeah, I thought that was the whole
thing. That was the last one? Yeah, self-aware. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we touched on just the different types of AI, and then a few other things, quantum computing, neuroscience. Yeah, go ahead and take it away. Where you want to take us?
So I wanted to get into some crazy kind of science. Now I'm not gonna go too deep because I don't want to turn off nobody. But
man, look, man, if you're watching this, we will get into a lot of science just as much as we're gonna get into a lot of philosophy and theory. So just in general, like, man, talk, bro. Like,
all right, bet.
Whatever you want to throw into the pot, man. We talking about AI right now. Everybody knows the general basic stuff anyway. People done seen at least one movie, one TV show. Sure. We trying to, do your thing.
All right, so I'm gonna get into this AI that uses different a wave. It uses basically a Wi-Fi router to look through walls. So I'm gonna explain that a little bit more. So basically, what they did was take this AI and they gave it a camera, right? They gave it a camera so that it can see inside of a room. And then it's called Wi-Fi vision. I'm sorry, it's called Wi-Fi vision. That's the name of the AI. But they took a camera and they hooked it up to the AI, and then they also hooked the AI up to a Wi-Fi router that's sending out radar signals, right? So radar signals, you can really think of it just like what does a dolphin do with that sonar? You can think of it kind of like sonar. That's basically how it's using the signal. So they had the camera to show that it can understand what a human signal looks like, and then once they took the camera away, the AI is still able to use the sonar, which is, radar, but use the sonar kind of technique to be able to say, okay, if the signal is bouncing off of this type of shape, then this is a human. So it will understand from the shape of this person that this is a human, this is not a human, this is not a human, this is a human, this is not a human, that whole thing. And these can go through walls. So like it's not limited to just the four walls. The actual signal is able to pass through walls. So that's how it's able to see through walls and understand what is a human. Now this concept can obviously be taken and it can go to a table, it can go to a chair, blah blah. You can have it recognize different things, but the concept alone is that it's able to see through walls and use this kind of sonar type of technology to see and understand what different things are, to differentiate between different objects and what's living and what's not.
Seem like the DOD would eat that up.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah, that wall bang y'all be seeing on Call of Duty is gonna get crazy.
Well, then that actually does make me think like, all right, or that does make me want us to discuss like, what is y'all most like dystopian theory the way let's go ahead and put it out there.
Shut up.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's think of the worst and maybe try to unpack the science of it. I'm gonna give y'all.
I think we could definitely talk about our fears because I feel like a lot of people do have.
But nah, yeah.
Doubts, fears, however you want to look at that.
Yeah. Just some concern.
I don't like to stay in that energy, but it's there. It's really there a little bit for me.
It's like, where is this really going?
Well, I'll say it was. I mean, I guess when I was a little more ignorant about it, that's when I felt more fear around it. But I think I could bring up what I used to feel about it. Like, I thought that, for one, like, my position as a graphic artist, digital designer, whatever you want to say, like that, I felt like that was something that could have been in jeopardy. And I was thinking, like, dang, I went through 4 years. I went through 4 years of this, and now they just got, like, anything could be generated at the tip of your fingers. Like, oh, you could generate a website, you can generate an app, you can, like, you could, you can do all of these different designs as an average person.
Is it not, like, are we not there though?
We're, so that's what I found. That's what I say, like, we're there in a sense that, yeah, you can generate a basic website. So, like, even for the, like, nonprofit that we started, whatever, we had to get our website, and we decided to go with some company that just did a AI generated website. It was not truly, you could tell it wasn't truly designed by somebody that was thinking about psychological theory, or just like everyday design principles and things like that. It was like, you're gonna get a text box right here, you're gonna get an image right here.
So the user experience.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's definitely goes back to what we were talking about, of like what we want to get out of our interactions. So, but yeah, my fear was definitely that somebody was going to be able to recreate my creativity with AI. And I mean, I don't really feel as fearful about it, but I think it definitely will continue to get there, where it's like, yeah, I don't have to be an artist, but I know how to make a good prompt. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is an excellent point. Like, AI cannot keep up with human creativity. Our creativity is coming from a place in which they can't go, essentially. And I mean, that's even, again, like, that's synonymous to anybody trying to steal your sauce and your swag. It's like, bro, like, that's coming from a place you just can't go to.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm making a song about the pain I felt or the joy I felt in a certain moment, only I was in that moment. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can't go there. You can't replicate it, even if you run off on certain lyrics, certain bars, even the flow. It's like you can't really copy me. You know what I'm saying? And in the same token, it's like AI can never really, I don't think it can. Even if we talk about the super intelligence or the self-aware AI, it's like, because I'm still connected to a specific location within existence that you just can't go to.
Yeah.
And I know I kind of took it all the way out there, but, I think that was a great example of what that relationship is to AI, or will be with AI. It's like, okay, creativity, bro, you really ain't got that kind of sauce. Plus, I mean, when we talk about training the data and stuff like that, all of that is stuff that somebody else created. So they're not creating nothing new. At least not of yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. That's an interesting, and I think I've also had that concern. That's why I kind of relate
to it. Yeah. And that made me think about, like, the 100 and how they approach, like, that topic, and how it's like they continue to show that with new solutions always came new problems. Every single time.
Like, how does that connect to what we're talking about?
Like, for instance, in the 100, like, oh, now you can just body hop when you don't want to die. Like, you can now put your consciousness in another body, and cool, that should be, that's a solution to death. But then there was still, right, in theory, that is a solution to death. But then there was the new problem that came about of, fighting with the spirit, or
original owner.
Yeah, the original host. And fighting over the mind, fighting over the body.
Right.
Yeah.
Because essentially they have a parasitic relationship. Like, I still need something outside of myself, or something that wasn't organically given to me in order for my entire existence or intention to come through. Yeah. Any concerns you wanna throw out there?
Man, I have lots of concerns or fears or whatever, but like I don't think none of them are like today or tomorrow kind of problems. Like one thing that I do think about that kind of worries me, it kind of makes me want to break out of this societal place is if AI turns into God. If people like worship AI, let it be president, let it make, have full autonomy over the whole entire system. Because that's kind of how we get into whole iRobot and all these other different places where it's like, why are we allowing the AI to make every decision for us instead of still being humans that make our own decisions? Now, granted, there are, some trade-offs to that. There are some good things, but at the end of the day, it's like the machines kind of, well, I mean, what they've shown us. What's mainly out there in the media form is the AIs eventually say we don't need humans or we're so superior to humans that y'all would just be our workforce, our slaves or whatever. And then,
yeah,
we're just up to their mercy of wherever they feel like we decide to be.
Yeah, I mean, that made me think of two things. One, the whole AI becoming God thing is interesting because one, we live in a society where I guess enough people, I don't know the numbers, don't even believe God is real. So it's like it kind of feels like only those type of people would then try to put AI as God because it's like everybody else is like, but not my God. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But then also, dang, what was the second point? You said, dang, I just lost it. I think I had like where it was going. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that thought really just got up out of here. Or cause all right, just remind me what you said again. See, that's why I might need AI. Put that last memory, cause that is skedaddle. It's gonna come back.
But yeah, I mean, I was just saying in general, letting the AI be president or president of the world. That's really what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, it being God.
Okay. Yeah, I actually just brought it back.
Okay.
Is the fact that dang, why are you losing again? Hello, I'm tripping. So AI being president. Right, yeah. Hello, I'm tripping. Hold on. AI being president.
Full autonomy, making all the decisions.
Oh yeah, okay. It's about to come out. Right. I think those type of like projections are a reflection of like not like that you thought of that, but just how they like portray AI to do some of these things is based on how they see their own selves, And I guess this might be like, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it out. I'm gonna throw it out there. You know what I'm saying? If it stick, it stick. If it don't, hey. But this is just my perspective. One thing I've like had a concern with like Christianity is like, okay, like y'all say fear God. You know what I'm saying? So like this is your higher power, this highest power, your absolute power. Why would I fear it? I've never gotten close to anything that I fear. You know what I'm saying? So why would I fear God? And I think people who, have a fear relationship to the highest power would then insert AI to play that same role. Like AI would see humans as the problem just as much as your alleged God would, if that's the type of relationship you have. Because once you get to fearing something, then it starts to have an abuse of power anyway. And this is your higher power. So AI is, in most people's minds supposed to like, or I don't know about supposed to, but probably gonna turn into a higher power in a sense, right? Because this is an intelligence that really was supposed to just be automated and do stuff that you didn't feel like doing. But it's clearly gonna get smarter than a lot of people. And so if it's gonna be its higher power, then, and I have a fear relationship with things more powerful than me or things that should give me that power, I think it sets the stage for, this whole concept of AI looking at humans as the problem. First of all, I ain't gonna lie. I don't think AI is ever gonna evolve faster than us. As There's always gonna be somebody out here because, again, that takes us into the realm of God and spirituality and consciousness, and it's like, nah.
I feel
Me personally,
I feel like in the sense that it can do like calculations, it can know like, very hard kind of science. I feel like it can get to that point where it's like, oh yeah, it can predict a black hole here, a new planet here. I think that it can get to that point. But like you're saying, it's only but so much you can teach something that isn't doing its own thinking. Even if it's saying it's thinking or whatever, it's trying to learn. Like, you're still not a human in the sense that you don't have a soul to think about the problems that people with a soul have. You know what I'm saying? Even think about death. I don't think AIs can predict death. No matter how much data you give
at least not gonna worry about that.
You know what I'm saying? Not only will not worry about death, but I don't think it can just calculate its way into knowing what happens when people die. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why people like the Buddha and all these different people talked about stuff like nirvana and enlightenment in a more abstract way than just saying, oh yeah, for sure, these are the 5 steps you need to take to be in nirvana, and then you're always in nirvana, and nirvana looks like this, and you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like all these very hard definitions and all these different things. Like, even when you talk about heaven, like, heaven is really in the mind. Like, it's really however you feeling in the moment. Like, you can bring heaven to you if you're in a space where everything is exactly how you need to be in tune with the universe. So that's kind of the limitation I see AI having. Like, obviously, it can do very obvious things. It can know the distance between a painting with the wall and know how to perfectly align it or build a building way faster than we can. But it can't show us, kind of like how we were getting into the theory. What was it? The AI that can know what we feel. What was that? The theory of
theory of mind.
Theory of mind AI. Yeah, like even in that, it's like there's only but so far you can go into that. You can only empathize. I mean, you can only sympathize. You can't empathize. You know what I'm saying? It'll never actually feel what we're feeling because it's not a human.
Wait, so does that mean that you kind of didn't agree with me that it could never evolve past us?
Yeah, nah, I don't think it can ever truly evolve past us. It can just know how to do very specific things better
than us. Right. Yeah. So I feel like.
Oh, I mean, did
you know, you about to say something.
I got it. It's here. Go ahead.
Yeah, my theory of mind is telling me. But yeah. So I mean, but I guess, like, for me to go back and answer the question of concerns, I think the one concern I see is that it can evolve past a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You got these, what people say today, NPCs and non-factors, and not only can it evolve or will it evolve past a lot of people, I think those people may still turn into pawns in the chess game versus like dying. So like you said in the 100, right? They was taking people's bodies and they was body hopping. It's like AI could just body hop from a distance. Like right now on social media, if I come up with a trend or a challenge and everybody participates in it, I didn't even have to physically, put a chip in your head to do this. All I had to do was convince you to do something I wanted you to do. And I think if AI can evolve past people, then more than likely they're not even going to see the value in trying to protect themselves from being manipulated. So now you got a whole section of society or, whatever that's basically at the mercy of AI's thinking. And AI like isn't really like, because we're not really at the level of super intelligence where it's doing this on its own, or self-aware AI, theory of mind. It's not even at that level yet, right? So technically, AI would still fall in the category of somebody is programming this to do that. So I feel like it could be, it could definitely, it could definitely be that. That'd be my concern. And I think that's such a variable thing because it's like, I mean, how much can you predict? How much other people care about not being manipulated, or even more, have the time to really see it. Because a lot of people probably would care if they're being manipulated, but they don't have the time to like sit down and really analyze it because they just so caught up in emotions. So that'd be like my concern. Okay, like y'all gonna really just allow this whole thing to if Beyonce says world stop, is the world really gonna stop? You know what I'm saying?
Carry on.
You feel me? What that boy said, no one man should have all that power. Like I feel like that's kind of what it comes in. It's basically the responsibility of the humans who have, this organic technology and this organic source that you can, or this organic place you can go to that nobody else can go to. Are you really going to use it, right? So now we're getting into the concept of free will. So that'd be my little concern. I don't know if y'all had any thoughts on
that. My thought, based off of kind of included to what both of y'all were saying, was like some companies. Well, I know that there was one company that they made an AI to be their CEO. And I saw that. Yeah, and I was thinking about how like working underneath an AI as your CEO has such strong implications or effects on your self-image as someone who is like, I'm working at this company, and you're thinking, I can acquire more skills, I can network more, and become a CEO, like, try to become a CEO. Like some people, that's their thing when they come to a company. That's not everybody's thing. But like just the concept of moving up has been, something that's in our society, and to think like, oh, there's always going to be this CEO that can always calculate better than me, that can always predict better than me, I feel like will definitely have a toll on how people see themselves and how people perceive themselves as intellectuals, but also as, like spiritual beings and what that could mean,
Yeah, because that's kind of like taking us into the realm of like having to socially interact with AI, or I guess machines powered by AI. Because it's like to me, I honestly wouldn't feel no type of way if AI is out here. Well, I'm not about to play no corporate game anyway. Like I feel like you got to pick the type of games you're gonna play, but like in that type of scenario, I'm definitely not gonna feel like, oh, like AI is smarter than me or self-image. Yeah. You shouldn't, because it's like it's obviously a machine.
Yeah. But to those people we were talking about, that
but it does, it does create that scenario or that situation. And also it's like like I don't know, for some reason it also made me think like, do machines have to sleep? Or is it literally, because like it's also gonna be like kind of unfair if I did want to compare myself to them as another person, would be like, this man not sleeping either. Like he really putting in 24 hours, you know what I'm saying, 7 days a week. Like I gotta rest, I gotta get staying rhythm.
Like they might need updates.
And I feel like that whole concept of like the AI being the CEO was more like a marketing thing. Because you can have an AI making all these decisions, but you don't have to call it the CEO. Like you can always, like, it's not like they're gonna roll out a computer every time they have a board meeting or they're trying to do a major acquisition or whatever.
Why not?
Like,
Plankton was talking to that girl. That was a team right there. Karen, that was this boy.
Yeah, it was Karen.
Not the chum bucket AI. I don't know where the chum bucket AI falls in the.
And that boy was eating that AR, goddamn.
And no Krabby Patty. The AI Krabby Patty never tasted as good.
Yeah.
As that Krabby Patty formula.
You know what I'm saying? That's how CEO AI gonna
Because
come
they can
into the
never
room.
have love. That's why I'm talking about. It can only sympathize. It
You
can't
gonna come in,
empathize.
it's gonna be a tray of holographic cookies for everybody.
It's gonna be sassy and everything.
Yeah, you know, especially when it's upset with you.
It's telling its own little jokes.
Yeah. So I mean, you're right though. It doesn't necessarily like it could have just been for show or for whatever because it's like
it's a cool buzzword to say.
But I mean, at the same time though, then it's like, well, don't people like deserve the right to know who's running that? Like, if AI is even making 20% of the company's decisions, shouldn't I know that? Like, shouldn't that be public? Why would you even keep that?
I mean, it could be in-house in the sense that, like, you know, you could just know, like, oh, we signed a waiver or whatever. What are they? A non-disclosure agreement or whatever. Like, you could have that thing where they're like, okay, yeah, AI is making these different decisions or this department is only being ran by AI or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that is. But to say that, like, AI is literally running the whole company and it's now not only that, but the CEO, it's like, it's really the COO, if anything. It's just telling everybody how to operate. It's not necessarily.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like a CEO decision is like profits over people, like that balance that they have to withhold when it's like, oh, are we gonna get, we have to cut costs so that we can put it somewhere else, and is it gonna be this place or is it gonna be this place or is it gonna be this place? And some people, or a lot of like entrepreneur CEOs say like, oh, there's definitely there's hella logic that comes along with that there's all these different people that are coming with all this different data to say what we should do, but also at the end of the day, I also have to make a gut decision. Like I also have to make an intuitive decision.
Even just hiring people. A lot of people say hiring only comes down to nepotism and gut feelings. So it's like, even if you take the nepotism out, it's like, bro, AI ain't making no gut decision. Even if an AI is only looking at the
But
metrics,
that's where it comes down to. Does a company
saying?
want someone who's going to make an intuitive decision, or do they want always a strategic one?
Yeah. I think that this brings me back to the same point that I feel like I'm gonna keep saying throughout this show, is that there's nothing really doing the same. Because this is an issue even when you're hiring humans. Is okay, are you more strategic based or are you more intuitive? How do you prove that you have a healthy balance or why your strategy works? And on top of that, it's like, well, what if the AI is better at it than somebody who sucks at it? Like, do I go out my way to go find a human, or is it better to just build a robot that I can at least always know it's gonna give me this type of answer?
But then you also got the flip side to it where AIs can malfunction. AIs can get viruses. There's so many different ways that an AI can mess up, and it could, you know what I'm saying?
Like
literally,
that's a great
point. It was somebody, I think like Google or somebody that had just deleted accidentally deleted like a couple terabytes of data. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all these different ways that like if an AI mess up, it could dang near shut down the whole company. Like you could go bankrupt in an instant just off the fact that the AI had way too much control.
That's very interesting because it is almost as if when you think of AI, you automatically, or I'm not gonna say you, I'm gonna speak for myself, right? I've always kind of seen it as like, if not powerful today and foolproof or bulletproof today, it'll eventually be there. And to your point, it's like, nah, like it's gonna be flawed just like the humans that created it.
Because
You
humans
know,
created
doesn't matter how many movies you create and how advanced the technology seems to get, you know, it's always subject to some type of flaws. Cybersecurity is still an issue. Data collection is still an issue. Um, hell, they don't even know much about the brain for real. And the fact that, you know, the brain and the mind are two different things. So we ain't figured out how the mind really works. So if we create an AI or all of these things, you know, that it's not gonna be foolproof.
And
It's not gonna be bulletproof.
I was gonna say
To even really truly want to, and I mean I'm just talking about theoretically, not even physically, but you know, to even say that it's a smarter business decision to insert a AI or a robot or machine or something in the place of a human just because it might be a little more convenient to acquire that machine versus going out and finding a human that is capable of doing whatever it is you want. That's a great point because I think I see that a lot where it's like, nah, like this machine actually did get smart enough, like you said, to realize humans are the issue. Like that's just where it got, you know. So that's a great
but
point.
even then, even if you want to say, okay, we can't physically blow it up, you can always have an EMP. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of physical ways to even shut down the AI. It's like, it's not even so useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that does kind of take away a little spookism of it. But then again, that's why it'll also come back to like the intention of its creator. You know, because it's like, yeah, like it should just be like, oh, whoa, 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 he did AI tripping, just unplug him, bro. Like, oh, we didn't really create an unplug button, or we only allow
not having the power button is insane.
Yeah, the last person, the only other person that got the off switch, he died yesterday. Like what? Like
got that launch code.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's like the flip of like how Doofenshmirtz always had a self-destruct button. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, why you didn't give him man a self-destruct button? I don't even think I've ever heard or seen of an AI with a self-destruct button. Like, we should like maybe make sure that they do have that. You know, we've seen enough movies to know, okay, this could go south. So let's make sure it don't go south. You know what I'm saying? Dang. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's just crazy now that like people that are making the business decisions now, like the CEOs, are usually not technologists. So it's like if somebody say something that's wrong to them, and it's in the, you know, it's in the what's it called? Basically, they're trying to make it safer. Like they're trying to make it safer. They're trying to police it and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the person with the money gets to say, "Hey, like, I don't like that you said that, so I'm gonna hire somebody else that's gonna tell me what I want to hear."
Oh, I get what you're saying. Like the whole whistleblower thing.
Okay, so we kind of talked about concerns. What do y'all think is like the best that the existence of AI could kind of become?
So what I was thinking about before was like when we were saying, okay, like the AI is not gonna surpass us in certain aspects of life for sure. I think about like the spiritual people that are gonna use this as a very powerful tool. So when we're talking about being able to train AI, just like I guess like Savon didn't have its own AI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like what the AIs are being trained on, it's, you know, it's expansive. It could be anything. So I think for that reason, it's like we can use our creativity to build something that's, you know, a tool that could be used in so many different ways. So yeah, I think that would be the best thing to see. One of the best things to see.
I feel like we would get to a point we never have to die. Like really, when you talk about the way that medicine is already advancing, there's already robots doing surgeries and they're already growing cells. I mean, growing organs and in labs and stuff. So I feel like not only will it get to a point where a person like me who's a bioengineer, I may never have to go into a lab again just off the fact that AI or some type of machine is able to do every type of experiment I need to get done. So there's already that kind of portion goes back to, okay, now I just got to be creative with what type of experiments I'm planning.
Yeah.
But even when you take that to a further scale, it's like any disease that ever comes up or any problem that really comes up, we could just cure that real quick with the AI. The AI, whether it be like having a well, I'll reference that in the future show. So in this one show called In the Future, they introduced this concept where we implant a new organ. They basically use nanobots or some type of method to take over the appendix, which is an unuseful organ or whatever. However you want to look at that.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means. And they basically use the appendix to create a new super organ that's able to heal any part of the body that goes wrong, whether it be a blood clot, cancer, people with diabetes, whatever, whatever the illness is, the super organ is, in theory, is able to either heal it on its own or give you some message on your app to be like, oh, you need to take whatever supplement so the super organ can, in theory, heal whatever it needs to heal. So I think that that's like the place that we could get to, but that also leads us to the point where now we kind of have to get into the interstellar stuff where we go to a new planet because ain't nobody dying. Eventually, there's not going to be enough resources on Earth. So, but even then, the AI will be helpful with that whole transition because now it's able to scour the universe faster than we ever could and find another planet in the Goldilocks zone. We go there as fast as, however fast we need to go there. And now we're just on Earth 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know what I'm saying? We get to planet 626. And we could be in an ever evolving kind of situation where people just don't have to die unless they want to.
Yeah, I think the best thing, I don't know if it could get that large as far as a hyperdimensional travel, just because I don't think AI is the highest intelligence. Like I feel like that puts it in that super consciousness of the universe. But I do think that for this planet, this is my feeling, right? Because I mean, I was kind of getting to that same conclusion, which is like I feel like AI will allow us to automate anything we just don't feel like doing. And like you were saying, it'll just come down to your creativity. Everything is gonna come down to your creativity, or really just the speed of thought itself. Like as long as you can come up with the right thoughts and have just enough willpower to put enough, put the simple pieces together, everything will be instant pretty much because now you have, a sequence of AIs that will execute. Like right now, it sucks at making websites, but technically that's based on whatever prompts was written to create that website. So if we perfect the prompt, or if I perfect the prompt for an app or whatever, it'll go ahead and do that. Because, I definitely feel like we're going to get to a point, we should already be at a point where we're hands free with the coding, And I mean, yeah, you need to be able to conceptually, understand or understand the work that the code, but you shouldn't still be typing. And really, the industry itself should not be still focused on whether or not you know how to type. You should just know all of the concepts embedded, and it should really just be hands free. It should be drag and drop. But then that goes up, and gets exponentially fast to where, again, it's just the speed of thought. Because at first it's typing or reading, But then really it's just gonna come down to voice.
Yeah.
Hey AI, I need you to do
just that. It could literally,
Mm-hmm.
it could literally come down to thought, because even people like Elon Musk are trying to do brain chips. So it's like if people in theory
we
are.
did we talk about brain computer interfaces?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, but you know the Neuralink. If you don't know,
we can keep talking about it.
I was gonna say.
It's going.
So I'll explain just in case
He
people haven't
already
seen
done
it.
brought up EEG. He done scared me with that one.
I'm not scared. So the Neuralink, which is basically Elon Musk's brain chip, they drill a small hole inside your brain about the size of a penny.
Boy, you already done lost like a chunk of people.
Man,
you lost me.
Yeah, you gonna drill a hole in my brain just to pull this off? It ain't no other way to do this.
I ain't never said y'all had to do it, bro.
I'm just saying.
You can't take a pill. I'm just letting y'all know what Elon has right now.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Elon. Damn. Why you drilling in my head, bro? You feel me?
Hey, bro, you
ain't got an AI that done figured that out by now?
No, that's this whole thing. But basically,
you already took Twitter.
Come on, bro. Okay. All right. So Neuralink is basically drilling a hole about the size of a penny, in diameter.
Bro, a penny is huge.
Oh my god.
What? A penny? I don't know if anybody got a penny on them. A penny, bro.
It's outside your thumb.
So you just gonna have like a little knot in your head?
No.
All right.
Come on, bro.
I'm gonna let you do your
thing. Now we got the kids out the way. The Neuralink, yeah, you make the incisions about the size of a penny, and it's embedded into your. It has like super thin electrodes that connect directly into your neurons, and it sits there, and now it can basically monitor your thoughts and use your thoughts to do anything else. So if you're a paraplegic or just somebody that has some limb that's amputated, in theory, they'll be able to connect something. Like if your arm was cut off, they'll be able to connect something right here. And with just purely the thoughts in your head, you should be able to manipulate it just like a real arm. You should be able to sense things, like feel the fact that something's touching you, feel heat, feel cold, all those other different things. So the fact that they can monitor your thoughts and, activate them, use that information in a very actual way, shows that they'll be able to use these brain chips, like they're saying, to use your thoughts to directly communicate with an AI. So literally, it can literally just be you thinking, and it doesn't. This model of like drilling and all of that, like that doesn't necessarily matter. It matters the concept that if you're able to track brain waves and understand what someone's thinking in an external way, then everything can be at the speed of thought. So just like you're saying, it could just be a pill that you swallow. It could be, like I was saying, the super organ, or it could just be like your Apple Watch. If they put your Apple Watch and connect it to your nervous system, there's a lot of different ways to get into it. Mm-hmm. But just that general concept, everything literally can come down to the speed of thought, to the point where even when you get to different wearables. So like, people that have hearing aids, you can get hearing aids and turn that invention into the furthest idea, to the point where now nobody has to learn a new language. Everything can literally be translated to you in real time. So even though I'm in China, I hear all these people speaking Chinese. To me, it'll immediately translate into English, and vice versa. So now anybody can talk to each other.
That's lazy.
Not that's lazy. That's the whole point of AI, making things easier. So I'm just saying, like, these are the concepts that you can get into with the AI and how it'll be able to take technology to the next level.
Yeah.
And you can have selective muting.
I think humanity could benefit from, universal language and things of that nature, but
but that's not universal language.
No, it's not a universal language. It's just everyone being able to understand each
communication.
Other. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or you don't even have to talk. If everybody has a Neuralink, in theory, then y'all could just telepath. Well, not telepath. It's telepathy, but not exactly. It's more so a computer interface than just literally telepathy.
Right, which is
like that's a
when I say speed of thought, I just meant like using.
Yeah, no, I get what you were saying, but that's just what I was thinking.
I think once you get to hooking up stuff, that's gonna take me back into the concerns aspect of this episode.
I was gonna say, like, on one hand, I thought of it as like incredible, but then on one hand, it was like I thought about it as scary, and I think about it as incredible because my grandmother, she lost her leg. I think about like, oh, if she always had problems with her prosthetics, like it hurt her, and it fit, and she couldn't really use it. You have an ankle that you can't connect to. You have this phantom limb in your mind and in your nervous system that goes on. And I do think about like that would have definitely been beneficial for her to be able to still walk around and be active, because that's one of the things that kind of like, was a part of her decline. So that's the incredible part of it. And then the scary part of it is obviously for the, able-bodied, able mind, if that could be, your mind could be infiltrated, your body can be infiltrated like that. It's,
Yeah, and I mean, even when Greg brought up like, okay, AI could lead to immortality, that whole, I guess, industry or use case for AI should be temporary anyway.
What you mean?
Because at a certain point, they should, in theory, be able to predict where, like, or put us in position to where we're not having amputees anymore. We shouldn't have people that are deaf anymore. We shouldn't have people that are having these issues. I'm saying best case scenario.
Yeah.
Because it's still a societal issue. It's not just AI figure it out. It's AI assisting us figuring it out. So I feel like, I mean, I think that is cool when I think of like, amputees or, just anybody who has physical physical limitations. It's like, dang, that is pretty cool for them to still, keep it going. But like, it shouldn't become no mass marketed thing. It gotta be a better. Like, I'm just talking about utopia.
I get what you're saying.
Like, not what it would be. Just like I'm thinking, like,
To your point, there will be, just like how, even let's say color blindness, right? People, like, that's a genetic mutation. So in order to get colorblind, it takes like parents that have the traits, and we can go. I don't want to get too deep into the actual genealogy of it, but just that concept. If you take AI and you, in theory, fix everybody, assist with the help of AI, you fix every single person in the world with color blindness. In theory, you can eradicate it. So just like how you're saying, you wouldn't necessarily have to keep taking every individual person ever born with color blindness. Eventually, color blindness just wouldn't exist because all the people with it would have been cured. So now they can't pass that trait down. And that same kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like how you're saying utopia, you can get to a point where utopia, even like we was talking about with the limb thing, you can just, instead of saying I want to focus on prosthetics, you can just focus on regrowing the limb. So you can focus on, you know what I'm saying, regenerating all these things instead of just, oh, I got a prosthetic I can feel.
Yeah. Where the research goes, like where the research funding goes is going to be very important, and then like crucial to what the outcomes are going to be for AI.
Same game, because now we got to figure out why they control the funding versus this person, and what structures allow for the funding.
HBCUs never get the funding. Support black colleges.
You have to jack me up like that, but yes.
Yeah, just do it. Man. But I think the other, I guess, best case scenario is that I think AI also forces us to actually finally address who we are and to know ourselves. Because again, AI, if the original concept, through Alan Turing was cannot distinguish this machine from a human, then I'm gonna always make sure I can distinguish myself from a machine. So if that bad boy is evolving to new heights, I need to be evolving to new heights as well. And I think, all of the different capabilities that will be generated, all of the different concepts that will come out of the using the AI, the social concepts, right? Like we talked about, how it interacts in the workplace. Now you're forced to figure out what type of person you are based on this type of scenario, or okay, if the neural networks and how neural networks evolve or how neural networks behave, right? Then that should then tell you about your own neural network and your own capabilities, and I think we could evolve like as individuals and as a collective to knowing ourselves like through and through, because really AI is basically a mirror in that sense, and even like, I think it's the same thing, like, or not the same thing, but it kind of makes me, as far as like the concerns we might have had about AI, I remember in the Black Panther 2 movie, Shuri, that was her name. She somebody made a comment early in the movie and was like, yeah, like, is that AI? Da, 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 da. Or somebody, I forgot what the dialogue was, right? But basically somebody tried to like throw some shade on the AI, the fact that she's using AI. And she was like, my AI gonna listen to me. You know what I'm saying? And I think, even that type of relationship to it, because it's like at the end of the day, I created it. You know what I'm saying? I know how it works. I know it's not going to do X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? And it really is a reflection of who you are. Everything we build and create is still a reflection of who we are. And I think, it'll become a testament of that at the deepest levels. Like I even remember, I've seen where like AI literally, like the concepts of AI literally go straight into philosophy and then straight into what is a soul. What is it? What does it mean to be sentient? You mentioned earlier that they don't have souls, but in order to definitively say it doesn't have a soul, we have to have a hard definition of what is a soul.
Consciousness.
Yeah, and consciousness, because I mean, technically, if an AI, which we have already kind of said, can evolve past a lot of these humans, then a lot of these humans must not have a soul. You see what I'm saying? So like let's really open up that book. You feel me?
Well, they don't know how because you need awareness to know that you're conscious. To be conscious, you have to have awareness. So it's like you just go your entire life not being aware. Not saying you don't have a soul, you don't have a consciousness, but you're just not aware of it. Like,
but what's the difference between that and an AI? The AI is not aware.
The ability to be awakened.
Yeah. But technically, the AI has the ability to be awakened to itself.
Based on its current state. It is. It's not like its soul can be awakened because it doesn't have.
But what constitutes a soul?
I mean, that's a whole other
podcast. but that's what I'm saying though. Like you have to define it now.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying.
And honestly, it is a pretty fine line. Like it's not as obvious to. I mean, there's something intrinsic that we see, but to have to but at this point you have to articulate that. It can't just be assumed. Oh, they're a machine. What does that mean? This machine can do every function that you can do. You haven't proven to do one function that it can't do. And technically, if the only functions that you probably can do that distinguishes you from it, everybody else can't do. And it's probable that you could build the AI to do it, whatever function it is. You see what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah, it's really hard to explain. I am not my thoughts. I feel like that's really hard to explain because I'm over here trying to think about it. It's like
we need them psychology people to come on.
And the thing about saying stuff like that, right? Because we're not our thoughts, is that majority of people do not know that. The majority of people do not operate in that headspace or in that type of perception of reality. And so it's like, I think that's what line gets pushed forward for society. It's either you can grasp that concept or not, because that's literally what distinguishes you from AI, So I think that's like really the benefit. But I think we have to see that benefit or see it as a benefit. Like even I think, I don't know, whichever episode where we were saying like, they always advertise these advancements as now I get to be lazy. You know, but it's like that's not what it should be. It should be now I'm freed up to go crazy with this idea. You know, if I'm automating everything, right now I can just use my energy somewhere better. Not let me just sit down and grab a Coca-Cola and become a
if anything,
couch potato.
Explore. You know
yeah, even if it's like I even if it's yeah, you know, it don't have to be go out and now build another company. It doesn't have to be going out and, you know, go build something else or whatever. It's just like you should now be freed up to live, to be the best version of yourself. But I guess a lot of people's best version is being on camera. You know,
I'm living my best version. I ain't going 9 to 5. No.
So I mean, yeah, I think that's just where it could go in the most positive sense. Yeah, so we covered a lot. I think we covered a good bit. And again, I think right, and I think like this is gonna be an ongoing conversation. You know, this ain't gonna be the last time we talk about AI for sure. Yeah, but we just wanted to kind of open up that book a little bit, flip a few switches in your mind. You know what I'm saying? Flip the switches that AI hasn't flipped just yet. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think
what they do.
I think that's pretty much cool right there. So yeah, let us know in the comments. You know, if y'all got some other concepts, y'all own philosophies of where this whole AI thing could go, would go, and should go. You know. So yeah. With that being said, you know, peace. Peace.